Hey Manuk YouTube, welcome back to a new video with Rams Fan YT. In today's video, we will be looking at the history of Stoke City. Before we get into it, I'd like to invite you to join my fantasy leagues, which will be in the description below, and also saying that this will be my last video for a short while. It will be about probably 3 weeks approximately. Just for personal reasons. I've got lots of things going on coming up. But yeah, let's get into it. Stoke City was founded during the 1860s under the title of Stoke Ramblers, often claimed to have been in 1863. According to the club's official history, in that year, former pupils of Charterhouse School formed a football club while they were apprentices at the North Staffordshire Railway Works in Stoke-upon-Trent. However, there has been a significant amount of uncertainty regarding the origins of the club and the precise year that it was established. While Stoke City officially claimed to have been formed in 1863, the year used on the club crest, but research has demonstrated that the club was actually more likely formed in 1868, 5 years later than previously thought. Stoke Ramblers were formed in 1868 by Henry Almond, who had been a student at Charterhouse School, where a dribbling form of the game was popular. He arrived in the region to become an apprentice with the North Staffordshire Railway Company, and wishing to continue playing the game that he had enjoyed whilst at school, established the first formal association football club in the region. The club's first documented match was in October 1868 against a scratch team brought together for the occasion by E.W. May. Harry Almond captained the Stoke Ramblers team and also scored the club's first goal. The club's first recorded away match was at Congleton, a rugby club that were convinced to play a one-off fixture under association rules, in December 1868. From the 1860s, the club played at the Victoria Cricket Club ground. However, they switched to a nearby ground at Sweetings Field in 1875 to cope with rising attendances. In 1878, the club dropped the suffix from its title and became known as Stoke Football Club. It became closely aligned with Stoke Victoria Cricket Club, sharing facilities and some administrative responsibilities. The club played at the Athletic Club ground, which soon became known as the Victoria Ground. It was around this time that the club adopted their traditional red and white striped kit. In August 1885, the club turned professional. Stoke were one of the 12 founding members of the Football League when it was introduced in 1888. The club struggled in their first 2 seasons, 1888-89 and 1889-90 seasons, finishing bottom on both occasions. Therefore, in 1890, Stoke failed to be re-elected and joined the Football Alliance, which they won and were thus re-elected to the Football League. Stoke spent the next 15 seasons in the First Division and reached the FA Cup semi-final in the 1898-99 season, before being relegated in 1907 with severe financial problems. Stoke went bankrupt at the end of the 1907-08 season and entered non-league football, playing in the Birmingham and District League and Southern League until 1914, when the First World War meant that the Football League was suspended for 4 years. During the wartime period, Stoke entered the Lancashire Primary and Secondary Leagues. When football recommenced in August 1919, Stoke rejoined the league. The club became the owners of Victoria Ground in 1919. This was followed by the construction of a Butler Street stand, which increased the overall capacity of the ground to 50,000. In 1925, Stoke City was granted Stoke-on-Trent was granted city status, and this led the club to change its name to Stoke City Football Club. The 1930s saw the debut of the club's most celebrated player, Stanley Matthews. Matthews, who grew up in Hanley, was an apprentice at the club and made his first appearance in March 1932 against Bury at the age of 17. By the end of the decade, Matthews had established himself as an England international and was one of the best footballers of his generation. Stoke achieved promotion from the second division in 1932-33 as champions. However, Matthews only featured in 15 games in this season. He did, however, score his first goal for the club in a 3-1 win against local rivals Port Vale. By 1934, the club's average attendance had risen to over 23,000, which in turn allowed the club to give the manager, Tom Mather, increased transfer funds. The club was now considered one of the top teams in the country. It was in this period that the club recorded its record league win, a 10-3 win over West Bromwich Albion in February 1937. In April of that year, the club achieved its record league crowd, 51,373 against Arsenal. Freddie Steele's 33 league goals in the 1936-37 season remains a club record. Following the resumption of the FA Cup after World War II, tragedy struck on the 9th of March 1946 as 33 fans died and 520 were injured during a sixth-round tie away against Bolton Wanderers. This became known as the Burnden Park disaster, and I don't think it's talked about enough, to be fair. In 1946-47, Stoke mounted a serious title challenge. The club needed a win in their final game of the season to win the First Division title. However, 2-1 defeat to Sheffield United meant the title went to Liverpool instead. Stanley Matthews left with 3 games remaining of the 1946-47 season, opting to join Blackpool at the age of 32. Stoke were relegated from the First Division in 1952-53 season. During the season, Bob McGrory resigned as the club's manager after 17 years in the role. Former Wolverhampton Wanderers defender Frank Taylor took over at the club, looking to gain promotion back to the First Division. However, after 7 seasons in the Second Division without promotion, Taylor was sacked. Taylor was shocked at being fired and vowed never to be associated with football again. Tony Waddington was appointed as the club's manager in June 1960. He joined the club in 1952 as a coach before being promoted to assistant manager in 1957. Waddington pulled off a significant coup by enticing Stanley Matthews, then aged 46 years old, back to the club, 14 years after he had departed. The return of Matthews helped Stoke to an improved 8th position in 1961-62. Promotion was achieved the following season, with Stoke finishing as champions. In their first season back in the top flight, 1963-64 season, Waddington guided Stoke to a mid-table finish. Stoke then reached the 1964 Football League Cup final, which they lost 4-3 to Leicester City over 2 legs. Waddington counted on experience with Dennis Violet, Jackie Muddy, Roy Vernon, Maurice Setters and Jimmy McIlroy were all players signed in the latter stages of their careers. Matthews was awarded a knighthood for services to football in the 1965 New Year's Honours List. This was followed by his final appearance for the club against Fulham in February 1965. Shortly after his 50th birthday, Gordon Banks, England's 1966 World Cup winning goalkeeper, joined in 1967 for £52,000 from Leicester. Regarded as the best goalkeeper in the world, Banks proved to be a shrewd signing for Waddington as he helped the club maintain stability in the First Division. During the close season of 1967, Stoke City played in the one-off United Soccer Association, which imported clubs from Europe and South America. Stoke played as the Cleveland Stokers and finished as runners-up of the Eastern Division. The club won its first major trophy on the 4th of March 1972 in the League Cup final against Chelsea. Stoke won 2-1 in front of a crowd of 97,852 at Wembley, with goals from Terry Conroy and George Eastham. Preceding this victory, Stoke had progressed through 11 games in order to reach the final. This included 4 games with West Ham United in the semi-final. The 2-leg tie was replayed twice. Stoke fared well in the FA Cup. The club progressed to the semi-final stage in both the 1970-71 and 1971-72 seasons. However, on both occasions, Stoke lost to Arsenal in a replay. Stoke also competed in the UEFA Cup in 1972 and 1974, losing at the first attempt to 1.FC Kaiserslautern and Ajax respectively. In January 1976, the roof of a Butler Street stand was blown off in a store. The repair bill of nearly £250,000 put the club in financial trouble. Key players such as Alan Hudson, Mike Pedgitt, and Jimmy Greenhoff were sold to cover the repairs. With the team depleted, Stoke were relegated in the 1976-77 season. Waddington, after a spell of 17 years in charge, left the club after a 1-0 home defeat to Leicester in March 1977. Waddington was replaced by George Eastham in March 1977. The club could not prevent the club's relegation to the second division in 1976-77. Eastham left in January 1978 after only 10 months in charge and was replaced by Alan Durban from Shrewsbury Town. Durban achieved promotion to the first division in the 1978-79 season. After consolidating the club's position in the first division, he left to manage Sunderland in 1981. Richie Barker was appointed for the 1981-82 season, but was sacked in December 1983 and was replaced by Bill Asprey. Asprey decided to bring back veteran Alan Hudson, and the decision paid off, as an improved second half of the season saw Stoke avoid relegation on the final day of the 1983-84 season. The 1984-85 season proved to be disastrous. Stoke finished the season with only 17 points, with just 3 wins all season. Mick Mills was appointed player-manager for the 1985-86 season, but was unable to sustain a challenge for promotion in his 4 seasons as manager, and was sacked in November 1989. His successor, Alan Ball Jr., became the club's 5th manager in 10 years. Ball struggled in his first season in charge of the 1989-90 season, and Stoke were relegated to the 3rd tier of English football after finishing bottom of the 2nd division. Ball kept his job for the start of the following season, 1990-91 season, but departed during the February of 1991 in an indifferent season that saw Stoke finish 14th in the 3rd division, Stoke's lowest league position. Ball's successor, Louis Macari, was appointed in May 1991, prior to the start of the 1991-92 season. He clinched silverware for the club. The 1992 Football League trophy was won with a 1-0 victory against Stockport County at Wembley, with Mark Stein scoring the only goal of the match. The following season, 1992-93 season, promotion was achieved from the 3rd tier. Macquarie left his boyhood club Celtic in October 1993. No, he left for Celtic in October 1993 to be replaced by Joe Jordan. Stein also departed in a club record of £1.5 million move to Chelsea. Jordan's tenure in charge was short, leaving the club less than a year after joining, and Stoke opted to reappoint Louis Macari only 12 months after he had left. Stoke finished 4th in the 1995-96 season, but were defeated in the playoff semi-finals by Leicester City. Macari left the club at the end of the following season. His last match in charge was the final league game at the Victoria Ground. Mike Sharon, who was signed 2 years previously from Norwich City, was sold for a club record fee of £2.5 million in 1997. 1997-98 season saw Stoke move to its new ground, the Britannia Stadium, after 119 years at the Victoria Ground. Chick Bates, Macari's assistant, was appointed manager for the club's first season in the new ground. He did not last long though, and was replaced by Chris Kamara in January 1998. Kamara could not improve the club's fortunes either, and he too left in April. Alan Durban, previously Stoke's manager 2 decades earlier, took charge for the remainder of the season. Despite his best efforts, Durban was unable to keep the club up, as defeat against Manchester City on the final day of the season consigned Stoke to relegation to the third tier. Brian Little, formerly manager of Aston Villa, took charge for the 1998-99 season. Despite an impressive start, the team's form tailed off dramatically in the latter stages of the season, which led to Little leaving the club at the end of the season. His successor, Gary Megson, was only in the job for 4 months. Megson was forced to depart following a takeover by Stoke Holding, an Icelandic consortium, who purchased a 65% share in Stoke City Football Club for £6.6 million. Stoke became the first Icelandic-owned football club outside of Iceland. They appointed the club's first foreign manager, which I'm sorry if I pronounce this wrong, but something like Guðjón Bjarnason. I have not got a clue how that's pronounced. Sorry, I don't speak Icelandic. Who helped Stoke win the Football League trophy in the 1999-2000 season with a 2-1 win over Bristol City in front of a crowd of 85,057 at Wembley. Guðjón achieved promotion at the third time of asking in 2001-2 season after a previous playoffs defeat against Gillingham and Walsall. Cardiff City were defeated in the semi-final before 2-0 win against Brentford at the Millennium Stadium secured promotion. Despite achieving the goal of promotion, Guðjón was sacked by Gunnar Gíslason just 5 days later. Steve Cotterill was drafted in as Þórðarsson's replacement prior to the start of the 2002-03 season, but resigned in October 2002 after only 4 months in charge. Tony Pulis was appointed as Stoke's new manager shortly after. Pulis steered Stoke clear of relegation with a 1-0 win over Reading on the final day of the season, keeping the club in the division. However, Pulis was sacked at the end of the 2004-05 season following a disagreement between himself and the club's owners. Dutch manager Johan Boskamp was named as Pulis' successor on the 29th of June 2005, only 1 day after Pulis was sacked. Boskamp brought in a number of new players from Europe, but his side was inconsistent and only a mid-table finish was achieved. Boskamp left at the end of the 2005-06 season amidst a takeover bid by former chairman Peter Coates. On the 23rd of May 2006, Coates completed his takeover of Stoke City, marking the end of Gunnar Gíslason's chairmanship of the club. Coates chose former manager Tony Pulis as Boskamp's successor in June 2006. Pulis took Stoke close to the playoff place, but an eventual 8th place finish was achieved in the 2006-07 season. Stoke won automatic promotion to the Premier League on the final day of the 2007-08 season, finishing in 2nd place in the Championship. A 3-1 defeat to Bolton Wanderers on the opening day of the 2008-09 season saw Stoke written off by many media outlets as relegation certainties. Stoke managed to turn the Britannia Stadium into a fortress, making it difficult for teams to pick up points there. So came the phrase, a rainy Tuesday evening at Stoke. In their first home match, Stoke defeated Aston Villa 3-2, and wins also came against Tottenham Hotspur, Arsenal, Sunderland and West Bromwich Albion. After a 2-1 win at Hull City, Stoke confirmed their place in the Premier League as the Potters finished 12th in their return to the top flight with a total of 45 points. Stoke finished the following season, 2009-10 season, in a respectable 11th place and with 47 points. Stoke also made it to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup for the first time since 1972, defeating York City, Arsenal and Manchester City before losing out to eventual winners Chelsea. Stoke reached the FA Cup final for the first time, beating Cardiff City, Wolverhampton Wanderers, Brighton and Hove Albion, West Ham United and a famous 5-0 win against Bolton, the largest post-war FA Cup semi-final victory. However, they lost the final 1-0 to Manchester City. By reaching the final, though, Stoke qualified for the 2011-12 UEFA Europa League. In the Europa League, Stoke advanced past Hajduk Split fun and tough group containing Besiktas, Dynamo Kiev and Maccabi Tel Aviv, which Stoke managed to progress through, finishing in second position. City's reward was a tie against Spanish giants Valencia, and despite putting up a spirited second leg performance, Stoke went out 2-0 on aggregate. In the Premier League, Stoke made the high-profile signing of Peter Crouch, as they finished in a mid-table position for a fourth time. The 2012-13 season saw Stoke make little progress, and Pulis left the club by mutual consent on the 21st of May 2013. Pulis was replaced by then fellow Welshman Mark Hughes, who signed a 3-year contract on the 30th of May 2013. Hughes led Stoke to a 9th place finish in 2013-14, their highest position in the Premier League and best finish since 1974-75. The 2014-15 season saw Stoke again finish in 9th position, this time with 54 points. Despite breaking their transfer record on Xherdan Shaqiri twice, by the way, and then Gianelli Imbula in the 2015-16 season, Stoke did not make any progress and finished in 9th position for a third season running. Stoke declined in 2016-17, finishing in 13th position. In January 2018, Hughes was sacked after a poor run it left the club in relegation zone. He was replaced by Paul Lambert, who could not prevent the club ending its 10-year spell in the Premier League. Following their relegation to the Championship, Lambert was replaced with former Derby County boss Gary Rowett, I remember all the snakes getting whipped out for that game. Despite spending nearly £50 million on players in the summer transfer window, results and performances were poor, and Rowett was subsequently sacked on the 8th of January 2019, with the team 14th in the table. He was replaced with Luton Town boss Nathan Jones, and Stoke went on to end an uneventful 2018-19 season in 16th place, with a record number of draws of 22. After achieving just 2 wins in the opening 14 games of the following season, Jones was sacked on the 1st of November 2019 with the team in relegation zone. Northern Ireland boss Michael O'Neill was confirmed as the replacement a week later. Results improved under O'Neill and the team managed to avoid relegation, finishing in 15th. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe if you are new around here, and also join my fantasy leagues. I really want some people in it because that's going to be a bit boring, isn't it? But yeah, I'll be here sometime soon in the next. It'll be after 3 weeks or so, and it'll be the history of your club, most likely, with the history of Swansea City. But goodbye for now.